Good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be going over a cross-country flight from Tacoma Narrows Airport through Tillamook down to Newport Municipal, that is KTIW, to KTMK, to KONP, for anybody who's curious. And for starters, we will start at the TFRs. There are temporary flight restrictions in the Seattle area for an air show, what looks like to be a concert potentially, and a Seattle Mariners game. We're not flying around Seattle, that's not too much of a concern. There's IFR airmets to the east of the route, as well as mountain obscuration along the entire area of the route. Icing to the north of the route from bases of 7,000 to 12,000 feet. Turbulence low to the east of our route, surface to 12,000 feet. There's two of those due to mountain wave. Low level wind shear on the entire upper area of our route, starting at Tacoma down to Olympia. And that starts at Bellingham all the way out to Port Angeles, Everett, Seattle, Tacoma area, and ending at Olympia. And that has loss of airspeed or gain of 20 knots or more below 2,000 feet. We have urgent PIREPs indicating the same thing all around the southern Tacoma or southern Seattle, northern Tacoma area. And that has plus or minus 20 knots during final on runway 16. The surface analysis chart explains this a little bit as we have a cold front moving through the area. Cold fronts come with changing winds and can indicate low level wind shear as well as turbulence, heavy showery precipitation, and even thunderstorms. All things to be aware of when a cold front is coming through. Our route looks to be entirely VFR, which is the one positive thing. At Tacoma, the METAR has winds at 230, 11 knots, gusting 28, 10 statute miles of visibility, clear skies, temperature 22, dew point is 09, altimeter is 3015. Peak winds are at 210 at 28 knots, and that was at 2146 Zulu. At Tillamook, KTMK, the winds are 310 at 11 knots, 10 statute miles of visibility, few clouds 3,100, few clouds 4,200, temperature 20, dew point 13, altimeter 3026. And at KONP, Newport Municipal, winds are 320 at 07, 10 statute miles, sky conditions scattered 030, 3,000 feet, temperature 18, dew point 13, altimeter 3029. PIREPs again indicating low level wind shear during descent on the final for SeaTac. Something to be aware of returning to Tacoma, which we would have to do for this flight. The cloud conditions indicate that once we get to Oregon, there's going to be some broken skies starting at 3,000, going all the way down to 1,600 feet, and even 1,400 feet once we get a little closer to KONP. Go back, and then surface winds are indicating that we will have a little bit of a headwind and then a crosswind, and we'll have that broken down a little bit better shortly. The TAF for KTIW does not have its own TAF. It uses KTCM, which is the military base within 10 miles of Tacoma, and that has the didn't mean to do that. It has winds 240 at 15, gusting 25 knots, and then sky conditions scattered at 4,000 feet. And, well, they've got some of that pretty close on. Winds are a little higher than what they were planning, but the base winds are a little lower, and the skies are currently clear, at least reported clear. And Tillamook does not have its own reporting TAF, so we need to use Astoria's and Aurora State's, KAST and KUAO, and interpolate between those. It's looking like both of those are reporting broken skies at 3,500. Easy to say that they would probably be the same at Tillamook, as well as winds from 260 and 240 at 9 knots. So it's quite likely that we would expect the same at Tillamook. And at Newport Municipal, it looks like skies are going to be broken at 3,500. Winds are 320 at 07, 6 statute miles of visibility. The wind chart, as we were talking about earlier, indicates a headwind, quartering headwind on the route from Tacoma Narrows all the way down to Astoria. And then when our route shifts down to follow the coastline, it's going to simply be a crosswind, which won't impact the duration of our route nearly as much. Vertical cross section does not indicate any icing. Winds aloft table, we will not be aloft at 6,500 feet taking off from Tacoma. So the lowest, I'd say approximately climbing will be 259, 12 knots at 13. And then at Olympia, looks like winds are from 258 at 20 knots at 3 degrees Celsius. Not quite icing, but a little low. Going down to Astoria when we shift our route, still from the west at 19 knots. And then going down to Newport Municipal, we will be descended at this point, so winds won't be as strong. Winds will be closer to 12 knots, approximately from the northwest, 334 at 10 degrees Celsius. And for our departure NOTAMs at Tacoma Narrows, we have the nav ILS for runway 17, localizers unserviceable, as well as some obstructions, tower obstructions it looks like. Destination NOTAMs has the same, VORTAC not maintained, and some other navigation obstructions. En route navigation NOTAMs. There's an interesting article out by the NTSB called NOTAMs Are Trash, and it's an interesting read highlighting how NOTAMs in their all capital format and all of their abbreviations make them practically unreadable and very difficult, making them often hide some very crucial safety information in a nearly illegible format. And it's funny that they know about it, but keep using it. So I'm going to keep looking at this, see if there's anything we can find that looks like it'd be a hazard to a flight. I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to keep going down, and for this flight, seeing as how the bases are broken at 3,500 towards the south of our route, I would say VFR flight would not be recommended for this flight with the mountain obscuration and with the wind shear that is endured at the termination point at Tacoma, which inevitably I would have to return to if I engaged on this flight. I think that it would be not recommended to engage on this flight in a small aircraft that I possess, which would be a Cessna 172. So my go, no-go decision for this flight would be a no-go, and thank you all for listening. Let me know in the comments if you have any disagreements. Thank you.